Brillium in the chat says, the key to Wendell's success here, actually, and the key to all Cozy.tv streamer success, it's amazing how far you can go just by talking and talking. Real. And that is what they fear. That is what they want to own the monopoly on. And that is how you became atomized and deracinated, and they became unified and, what would Jordan say, successful.
I would never turn down a meeting with another ambassador for two reasons. Number one is Israel's not in a position to turn down anybody, any friends, potential friends. And the second thing is if you meet a smart ambassador, it usually saves you about 5 years of reading The Economist, which I don't really like to read The Economist. So one particular day.
That's why it's going to be really great when the crypto zillionaire 45-year-old America First Groypers 20-something years from now just bundle their way, because that's how you become an ambassador, by the way. You raise a lot of money, and the higher your ambassadorial position is, the more money you raised for a presidential nominee. So, when the movement throws its weight behind its first successful candidate that you guys have a lot of control over, and perhaps it's a homie, and one of you guys are all out there pressing the flesh, you get to do what these guys do. You get to just multiply the amount of money you already have because you talk to people who are in charge of the national economies of countries under the singular control of dictators and monarchs. You get an inside tip on the Rwandan logging industry from a guy who's literally the brother-in-law of the dictator for life of Rwanda. You get to learn about all kinds of opportunities you'd never know about because you are drinking with guys who are living 8,000 miles away from where they have all the power in the world, and they have to point to their diplomatic plates every day in D.C. to prevent from being hassled. And so you guys become friends because you're funny. Maybe because you spent the last 20 years of your life learning how to be the second funniest man in the world from the first funniest man in the world himself, Nicholas J. Fuentes. And then you take all that money you made from meeting your ambassadorial friends, and you get to bundle even more money for the re-election campaign, or maybe in a couple cycles for the next guy, the next little homie to follow on from the party and become president. And then you get to be Secretary of State or something like that. Or maybe you get to fund your own run for the Senate or something. Wow. It's almost like all of these figures have Wikipedia pages, and you can kind of learn a little bit about how they did it. You can learn what kind of steps someone takes to inhabit positions that they inhabit. And you can think about, if you have a will to power, what your path may need to look like decades in advance.
I come back, and it's after a long day. I had 7 or 8 meetings, White House, Congress, and I come back, and in my waiting room there is the ambassador of Burundi to the United States.
Burundi check. I will point out Burundi, dead south of Rwanda.
So I said, give me a moment. I went into my office, and I have to admit, on your podcast, I had to look up and Google Burundi. Like, I knew it was in Africa, but that's about it. I didn't know what it bordered. I didn't know anything about its history.
Not a globe head. Frustrating. I was listening to Nick's Twitter space live the other day, Saturday or something. It was hilarious. And somebody from, what was it, like Guinea-Bissau or something called in, right? Was that it? What was well, it's going to take 20 seconds for chat to answer anyway. But it was Burkina Faso. Nick had the international fan club calling in. He had like a guy from Switzerland. There was a Groyper from Burkina Faso. There was a Groyper from Oman. And Nick, without fail, when they would say where they were from, would just immediately just blast the name of the capital to them. And it's like, there we go. There we go. I remember Nick was like, Ouagadougou when the Burkina Faso, the Burkinian called in. He was like, Muscat when the Oman guy called in. So Dermer didn't know.
I did the Wikipedia thing in 2 minutes to try to get as much information as I can. And then I invited him into my office and we started speaking. And this happened to me that day. It's very rare for me. It might be rare for you. That day, it happens about twice a year. I was actually tired of listening to myself speak. I was so exhausted having talked for about 8 hours. I just didn't want to talk about Iran, about the peace process, about anything to...
Streamers, I'll tell you right now, you become a streamer, you do this. I've only been at this for like 4 months. I would go on whenever Bookcat would go on since February. So I've been streaming pretty hard since the beginning of February. You get so good at talking. I tell you guys this all the time. If there's any new viewers in the audience right now, go jump into that replay telegram and run it back to the test stream from Twitch. I think at the beginning of April. Compare and contrast. If you can, go find that first Bookcat stream from the beginning of February that I was on. Compare and contrast. You get so good, you can't even imagine getting tired of talking anymore. Paul Town did a 29.5-hour stream. So this guy has had 15 years of political and diplomatic experience by the point he's talking about. Maybe closer to 20, because this would have been in 2014. And he's already tapping out after 8 hours of talking? Yeah, you could take your average kill stream enjoyer and just outrun this dude. So, prepare.